Hey everybody, my guest today is Taylor Polidore Williams, who is currently leading in the cast of Tyler Perry and Netflix's Beauty in Black. Taylor also starred in Tyler Perry's Divorce in the Black. She's also known for Snowfall on FX, as well as the CW's All American Homecoming. She is an accomplished voiceover artist, having voiced characters for Nickelodeon, Disney, Peacock, and many more. She's also a court-appointed special advocate for youth in foster care. She is a proud graduate of HBCU Clark Atlanta University. She is in Atlanta as we speak today. Welcome, Taylor, to the podcast. Hi.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, I'm so thrilled. I was just saying before we started recording that I have been so deep into Beauty in Black to the point where I'm just not getting other things done. But luckily there's only 16 episodes. Congrats on this incredibly layered, compelling, textured role and performance that you have inhabited in this series. Um, Before we get deep into sort of the making of this show, I would
Mm,
love for my listeners just to get to know you a little bit outside of this character of Kimmie.
yeah.
I just shared where you went to college. You're in Atlanta right now as we speak. So, has Atlanta been your home for a lifetime later in life? Can you talk a little bit about where you grew up? Who was in the house you grew up in? How did you find the arts? Just like a little, I don't know, exploration of you and your relationship to the arts and like doing it as a career in earnest.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And thank you for the introduction.
Of
And thank you for
course.
watching the show as well. So um just to start, I have not lived in Atlanta my whole life. I'm originally from Texas. I grew up in a place right outside of Houston, called Katy. I would say it's like a country suburban town, maybe like 20 minutes from the city, but all of my family's from Houston. So very connected to the city. And that's where I got my start, with the arts. Started off doing community theater. My family loves the arts. My mom used to dance. My uncle, he's huge in the art community, even right now. He builds art cars and all that kind of stuff. So naturally, when I started doing theater at school, I was kind of a shy kid. So my mom was very shocked that I was doing a play. And my parents were like, okay, well, she kind of likes it. So at that point, I think they were very open to me trying dance and choir and all these other things, but theater really stuck out to me. And from there, I started modeling, and that was like my first paid gig. And so my mom is an educator, my dad is an engineer, and neither one of them worked in the arts at all. And when I first had my first paid job, my mom was like, "Okay, maybe there's something here that we need to learn more about because I don't know about this." And it was so funny because my mom, when I did like a, it was like a catalog or a photo shoot, something like that. And I had to be in a swimsuit in the cold. And I was just eating it up. Like to this day, I love to work. And my mom pulled me out of it. She was like, "That's enough. It's cold." She's 7. Enough is enough. And she gets in the car and she's like, "Whoa, we can leave and have our Saturday." And I was upset. I was quiet. And she was like, "What's wrong, Taylor?" And I was like, "I wasn't done working."
Right,
And that's when she was like, "Oh, she likes this."
right.
And she signed me up for an improv class that the theater department head at the college she was working at, he was like, "Get her in a class." And she accidentally signed me up for an adult improv class. And the teacher was like, "Well, if she wants to stay, she can." And my mom was looking at me because I'm like so shy. Like I was definitely one of those little kids where it's like, "Hi, Taylor, this is so and so." And I'd be like, "Hmm." And I was like, "I'll stay." My mom was like, "Okay." And by
Wow.
the end of the class, the teacher was like, "I would like to refer her to my agent. She's ready to audition like she likes this, like she's good. And so that was kind of my introduction to TV and film. I had a wonderful agency in Houston that I did a lot of commercials, a lot of like print modeling because that's kind of what was popular there. But then after Hurricane Katrina, Louisiana had the tax credit thing that went on. So movies started being filmed there. And that was my first feature film, or that's how I got my first feature film. Um, it was filming in Louisiana, a movie called Welcome Home Roscoe Jenkins, starring Martin Lawrence and Monique and James Earl Jones, just this big star-studded cast. And I remember being on that set. I was 13, and one, it was being able to act and do that as a job I loved, but the world of making a movie is what drew me in. The sound stages and the sets and all the moving pieces and all of the people and their jobs and watching people do it. Like I was fascinated, and I was like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And it didn't really change.
Wow. I'm just thinking about your mom who seems like such a non-momager at heart, like in
Oh no.
um, but did she go with you to Louisiana when you shot that, or who was the grown-up with you on that job?
She went with me. She she went with me, and that was when we discovered my mom hated being on set. She was like, "Why is this taking so long? Oh my God." And I was like, "Relax. We're
Yeah.
working. We're working." But she's always been very supportive of me, but she was not the mom that was like, "You need to do this. You need to do that." I was like 11 responding to emails. Like,
Oh, that's just so incredible. I mean, the idea, can you remember yourself as, when you just described like, Taylor, this is Mrs., Mavis, and you're like, I'm Mrs. Mavis. And then
yeah.
when there's I mean, improv, nothing scarier, right? Like the idea of not having lines actually written for you and having to like jump into something. And just the idea that you were like, tell me a little bit about what you can recall being inside that like young person who was shy yet felt so much freedom and curiosity in a very adult world, obviously. You weren't on like a Disney Channel show. You were working with like these, I mean, you just said James Earl Jones, like drop the mic, right? Martin Lawrence, like
Right.
extraordinary talents. What was that? Like, what did it feel like to be you in those circumstances and have the confidence to go, I belong here. I'm comfortable here.
It's so funny, and that's a beautiful question because I reflect on that often, and I think it was when I was a kid, um, being able to act was playful to me.
Mm,
And it was fun. And although Taylor maybe didn't know what to say, I've always been a person that can express myself better through writing because I can think and like see it. So, whereas Taylor might not have the words or didn't want to express these messy feelings, when I can go play, I can let it all out, and it feels, I don't judge myself because it's not me, like it's someone
right.
else. And even I think the magic of improv is the same thing. Maybe there's not lines, but I have these circumstances that are already outlined for me, and I can go in. Oh, I'm playing a cat. Great. I know how to do that. Like, and it was just the magic of it being fun. And I remember being on that set. I think I also at that time I didn't understand like the gravity of who I was around. It was like, this is such a cool thing. I didn't I didn't fully understand, but I knew that I was having fun and I knew that I liked it. I kind of compare it to like being in the zone of what I would imagine an athlete feels like when they're scoring and they're making buckets. When I'm fully immersed in a role, I'm having fun and it's playful, and that's what I gauge as like that was right for me. Like, and as I've grown, it's like I can't use outside factors to determine, because what we do is so subjective. But if I know I'm having fun, that's my own little indicator of like I did a good job. So
No,
I'm
I
still
love
that
that.
playful kid, yeah, on the
Yes.
inside.
What about the deciding to go to college, even though you're already having a career? And was theater a part of your time there? And were you still filming and working while you were in college?
Yeah, so it was definitely a discussion before I graduated. My parents were like, "Do you want to just go to LA?" And, we support you. But even in high school, I was very big on, I don't even know why or like what that inner wisdom was. I wanted to live a full life. So in high school, I definitely was still acting. I was in my school's thespian troupe, but I also was the captain of the varsity cheer squad. I was also like, I had really great grades. I would go party on weekends. Like, I was in everything. So I really wanted to experience college and normal college. And I knew I wanted to go to an HBCU as well. Just being a young Black girl living in a predominantly white area, I knew what an HBCU was, and I was very interested in learning and going to college at one. So when it was time to decide, I was like, well, I'm just going to apply and see. And I had gotten into USC's theater program, but then I had also gotten six full rides to other schools for academics, and one of them was Clark Atlanta University. And I just went to go visit all of them. Me and my parents took a 2-week road trip, and I remember that was my first time being in Atlanta. And at the time, actually, Tyler Perry Studios had just started kind of opening up in Atlanta. And I was like, well, this seems like a cool place for a young Black actress to get a start. And they had a major that I wanted, film. And that was the one school that was like, so what do you want to do? And I was like, well, I want to act, but I want to make movies too. I want to write or direct. And they were like, we can teach you how to do all of that. So it was a very synchronistic choice, I think. And I hit the ground running in the like Atlanta independent film scene when I was in college.
Okay.
Um, and it's funny because a lot of those same people that I was making guerrilla films, just doing anything with, I see them on set. I've seen them in so many places as everyone's career just continued to thrive. So it was a beautiful choice that 17-year-old me made to go to school in Atlanta.
And what did, like, growing up, were you aware of Tyler Perry? Like, when did you become, obviously, when you move to a place where someone like that has built his own studio, like in your backyard, basically from your college, I'm sure, I live in New York and heard all about it and knew about it and the impact of that sort of globally, actually, in
Mhm.
terms of his reach. What did it mean to you? And did you have any before you actually auditioned and got cast in his stuff, did you have any like run-ins with him or interactions, or did you tour the studio? Like, what did you know about that world?
I knew nothing except for I knew nothing. I knew like some of the movies and plays when I was growing up, but it just you know it sounded like, oh, I'll just go work there. Like as a kid, you don't know these things, but I quickly learned that the process was going to be a bit more of a journey. So I had auditioned by the time I was in school. I did get an agent, and I was going out for stuff, and nothing ever clicked. Nothing ever, it didn't work out while I was in school. And it had actually gotten to a point where kind of the roles that I was getting in Atlanta, I felt I had hit a ceiling. So I up and moved to LA after I graduated. And I lived in LA for a while, um, just to audition for Tyler Perry and got to go back to Atlanta. But I think it all came full circle for sure. But while I was there, I had never gone to the studio. I think I had gone out for, maybe a couple of TV shows from time to time, but I think it's just one of those things like when it's your time for something that it is typically better than what you could have imagined. So it was just the timing of it, the divine timing.
How long were you in LA before you got Beauty in Black?
I didn't leave LA until I got engaged, which was the end of 22, because my husband works here in Atlanta. So I got Beauty in Black 2024. Yeah. So a couple years.
By the way, I just have to say, like, go. So obviously, I wanted to start with Beauty in Black, um, and then I went back to just watch the first episode of Divorce in the Black, just to see the character you were playing in that show versus the character you're playing now. For people listening, I can't tell you what to watch or whether to stay with something or not, but the very first scene in Divorce in the Black is one of the most, I have never seen anything like it. I am not even going to describe it because I just want everyone to find it. I'm sure it's still on Amazon or anywhere you can find Tyler Perry's Divorce in the Black. It is astonishing what happens in that scene. Everyone in it is extraordinary.
I
The
have a very
acting,
funny story about that.
okay, can I mean, I don't know, I don't want to like spoil what happens because I've never seen anything like that. It's a funeral, I will say that. I need to know what it was like. Tell me your story because that was insanity.
Let me tell you the insane story.
Okay.
So, first of all, the whole way I even got to be in that movie was it's truly one of those like Hollywood stories. I went in to audition for something else. They didn't tell me Tyler Perry was actually going to be in the room. He's in the room. I'm like holding on to every ounce of professionalism I had because I had never met him before. And I'm
Okay.
like, hello. And he's a
I
very
didn't
direct
realize
person.
that, man. Yeah.
He's a very direct person. He's also a very big person. I'm 5'3". He's like 6'6". So I'm like, okay. He's like, I already saw your first scene. Go into the second one. Ready when you are. And I'm like, okay, we did it. And then he was like, I want to see you do the first scene. And we did it. And then he's like, all right, have a good day. Bye. And I was like, well, I killed it. I went home and I didn't worry about it anymore. And like within a couple of hours, my manager called me and was like, hey, Tyler Perry really likes you. They want to know if you're interested in reading his next movie, a different role. And I'm like, yeah, I'll read it. So when I read it, I was like, yeah, I think I can do this. And and then I'm thinking they're gonna say they want to bring me back in to, read again for that role. And he just offered it straight out. And I was astonished. And yeah, it moved pretty quickly. I had already gotten the script. I really liked it. And the night before we started filming, I woke up like in the middle of the night to use the restroom. So it was the morning of. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning. And as script revisions come, we'll get, the edits to the script. And I look and I'm looking through and I'm like, this is an entirely new movie. That first scene, when you see it, to everyone listening, when you see it, know that that was not there. So to my surprise, at 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm like, what is going on? And I read the whole entire script in that setting because I was like, this is not what I prepared. What?
Yeah.
But it worked out perfectly. And Tyler that morning was like, you guys, I know you got some edits late at night. It's okay. We're gonna work through it.
Wow. Does he shoot in order or not necessarily?
No.
Okay.
And not only does he not shoot in order, he shoots very fast.
And
Very
there's so
fast.
much style. I mean, it is so divorce. Anyway, you guys, please just push pause, go watch the first episode of Divorce in the Black, and then come back to our conversation. And then get deep, deep into Beauty in Black, where, I mean, in Divorce in the Black, you have a wonderful part. It's like this great best friend to someone who's really in like a really awful situation. And you
Yeah.
really like the friend that one wishes for when they can't see sort of how wrong their own life is going. And I feel like I love those parts. It's not heavy lifting. Whatever number you are on the call sheet, it's not on your back. You can show up and just do what you do and be in a Tyler Perry movie. And it's amazing.
Yeah.
And you're wonderful. And I haven't seen the whole series. I don't know what kind of transition or arc your character went through in that. But now we get to Divorce in the Black, Beauty in Black, which is unbelievably heavy and unbelievably
Mhm.
real and dealing with themes that are so sadly so topical today more than ever. I mean, we are dealing with a woman who is being sex trafficked and just manipulated and coerced into really painful situations. And it started when she was very young. I mean, just being abandoned by her own family. And
Mhm.
it really just talks about just how hard it is to be a woman, how hard it is to be a Black woman, and sort of all the things that I don't know, make for an extraordinarily complex, beautiful character. And the way you bring such humanity to this role that could be such as like a trope. Oh, she's like a hooker with a heart of gold, right? Like we know who that character is. It could have really been in the wrong hands, um, not as nuanced, and we root for you. This is a character who doesn't do good things all the time, and we just root for you. And Tyler, as a man, has set up in this show like tremendous compassion and a like from day one a way that we go like she's like this for a reason. This is why, folks. Like he sets you up really well into,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? At least on the page
Yeah.
that I'm seeing. But then you had to do it. Like someone can create a safe space for you to work in, which I hope he did, and I hope the crew and everyone you worked with understood what you were carrying. But at the end of the day, safe space, not safe space, you had to do it. Like you had to show up every day and carry so many people's stories on your back and you want to do right by them, right? Like you get to go
Mhm.
home. As you said, it's joyous and fun, even hard stuff. But the responsibility of that must have felt, I don't want to speak for you. I can imagine that it felt heavy and heady.
Yeah.
Um, and also, you're thinking of me for this? Like, there's nothing exactly, although I'm sure where you end up in this new show, I'm not there yet. We see
Mhm.
the powerhouse, like, no nonsense, don't F with me, girl. Um, just talk about it's one thing to be offered something and you're like, yay, I got the lead. But then you have to do it.
Mhm.
And I don't know if you've done a lot of stuff like with this. I mean, I know in Snowfall, your character also had a career. Um,
Mm.
but that was hard. Can you, I just would love for you to just talk about it and the stuff that scared you, why you did it anyway.
Yeah. I was absolutely terrified. So initially when the opportunity came up to read, I immediately called my manager. I was like, I don't wanna do it. I was like, I don't wanna play a stripper or yeah, I was like, no, 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 no. They were like, well, Tyler's requested you and you guys already have a relationship. And at that point I was like, well, I'll read it, of course. And so I had a meeting with the casting director, Kim Coleman. We read it, and I still was kind of like, Kim, like this me like this is a lot. Like this is a lot. Like you said, it's extremely heavy. And sure enough, got the call back and like there was just something in my gut that I was like, I'm gonna get this. And not the feeling of like I'm not grateful to have this opportunity, but like it's terrifying to think of these circumstances and playing that. And I was like, not I don't know if I can, but what does that feel like? Like, I'm feeling so many different things. And when I went in that day, I sat down with Tyler and he was like, look, this is where it's at, but this is where she's gonna go. And I need you because I know you can do it both. And I need you to be strong and lead the cast. And I was like, it's so funny now that I think about it again. He's such a big guy, and I'm sitting next to him, and I was like, well, Tyler, I just don't know. I was like, I gotta read it. I gotta read all the scripts. Like, I
Lighting your
need to,
cigarette.
yeah, yeah. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, who do you think you are? Like telling this man, like, I don't know if I should. And I'm like, I need to see where it's gonna go. Like, is there any more scripts? And he's like, I'll send you everything I got. So he sends me the first 8 scripts, and he had already told me like the arc of, the entire show. And I'm reading them. And much like if you've watched the show, I'm like, what? Flipping the page, like, what is happening next? What? And I read them all in like one sitting that night. And after I read it, I was like, I think I can do it.
Mm.
I think I can do it. And I talked to my team, I talked to him, and I was like, think I can bring something to her. And he was like, I'm so happy. Like, yes, you can. And the space that was created on set was so safe. And I think also because of the way that he shoots, I had episode 1 through 16 from beginning. So I knew exactly what was happening in that season. And I was actually able to prepare for it like it was a movie. So I knew exactly where I was, something that I do with each character, but I think it was especially necessary because of her circumstances. I journal their life up until that point.
Uh-huh.
Um, just so, or like key events, like why
Yeah.
is she like that? Why? And I ask those questions. So I think because I had all of the scripts, I was really able to create the circumstances in my brain. And then, of course, what's actually just written on the page is quite it calls you to action as well and to feel as an empathetic person. Maybe I haven't gone through some of these things, but the backstory I've created plus what's just already there, it was more than enough to bring these very real emotions up. But again, the space was so safe, and at times it was such a wonderful environment that I would have to like get away from everyone to go be able to drop in because everyone was so nice and they knew what I was dealing with and what I was doing. So lots of hugs. Are you okay? Is everything okay? The intimacy coordinators were fabulous and wonderful. Are you comfortable with this? Even Tyler, like certain scenes, he'd be like, stop. Are you okay? And it's like, no, I'm okay. Like, I'm just acting right now. But everyone was so careful and so, just caring. And it was, I couldn't have imagined a better space to have that introduction to play a character like that. I've never played a character like that before, and I don't think there was anything better that the environment could have provided for me to feel okay and to be able to go home. And at the time I was planning my wedding, I literally wrapped and left set and went to go get married. So like I had a lot that I was doing, but they were so warm and loving, and it was okay. It was fine. And I'm glad that I, trusted my gut, trusted him, and I love that the opportunity was as beautiful as it was.
Okay, first of all, that you're sort of in the like muck of what this character's dealing with, that you are also like wedding.com at night. Like the idea that
Yes.
you could like plan, be sort of planning this fantasy magical, wedding, which I've seen video of on your Instagram, and it really was one of the most beautiful weddings I've ever seen. The
Thank you.
juxtaposition of those two things. Let me ask you about that. So you said that your fiance at the time, now husband, was working in Atlanta or living in Atlanta.
Hmm.
I would think that, as I have friends who are married to actors and friends who aren't married to actors, and there's like really great things to both, right? Someone who speaks your language completely, or the
Yeah.
relief of being with someone who's like, I don't do this, but I admire that you do this, right?
Yeah.
What was it like sort of navigating being in a real life couple while you're also working on this really intensely painful material?
Yeah. So he's not in the industry. My husband is a surgeon. He's a surgery resident right now.
Oh my
So
goodness.
all the Grey's Anatomy is real life in our household, and well, not all of it, but the demands of the job for sure.
And the
Uh,
sleeplessness. Neither of you sleep, probably.
no,
You didn't sleep,
no,
you can't go to sleep. Yeah.
no, and I think the way that at least we're able to navigate it, and I won't sit here and say that we're relationship gurus. We've been married 10 months, but I've known him since I was 18. And I think that we make it work because he is my best friend. He knows my dreams, I know his, and we both do sacrifice a lot. There are days where he comes in feeling his best because he's helped somebody, and then there's days where he's really down because someone's died or, just things were tough.
The
And
realities of that work. Yeah.
absolutely. And there's realities of my work. Sometimes I'm on cloud nine, I'm feeling great. And then there are times, especially while I'm shooting, there's days where I feel like I knocked it out of the park. And then there's days where I'm like, I might be the worst actor alive. I think as someone who understands that, because our jobs are not just our jobs, we dedicate our lives to our jobs and we love what we do and it's part of our purpose and we're passionate. We actually have a really good mutual respect and understanding. And while I'm filming, and even not, he is very supportive. And not only is he supportive, but he's honest and he's truthful and he knows how much what I do means to me. And he's very sensitive to talking to me, the artist, and me, his wife.
Mm.
And we have really good communication when I'm like, I don't need you to be my hubager right now. I need you just to be my husband. He's like, okay, well, are you okay?
Yes. Yeah.
We
Yeah.
just we have good communication and good respect. And I think that's how it works.
Why do you think, did you ever talk to, I mean, I'd love to hear a little bit about, I mean, Tyler Perry's very unique in that he has really like thrived in both lanes in terms of comedy and drama. A lot of people just know him from comedy. And
Yeah.
both these shows really dealt with women in really painful situations. I mean, really at the center of both
Hmm.
Divorce in the Black and Beauty in Black are women who are really being treated badly by the men in their world.
Hmm.
Um, did he talk to you guys? When you do a play on the first day, the director will gather everyone and be like, this is my vision. This is the world I want to create. This is why we're all telling this story, right? There's this idea about getting everyone on the same page. Films don't usually have that luxury where everyone in the entire ensemble gather together on day one and then you start the
Right.
act. Um, but I wonder if you have any insight as to like why these stories are so important to him. He can do whatever he wants. He's Tyler Perry. He doesn't even have to work anymore if he doesn't.
Right.
And for many, many generations to come, right? The Perrys are good. So,
Yeah.
do you know what it is about these stories and these women that are so important to him and what it was that he wanted to share in the making of Beauty in Black? What's your sense of
Yes.
that?
Yes. So I think on a, just a general level, he's spoken about it and he speaks about it as often as possible. His mother was everything to him. She passed away some years ago, but a lot of these women or the difficulties that they face in the dramas that he's done are reflections of his mother and the women that he grew up around and the very, very difficult circumstances that he grew up in. And I'm not sure if you've watched or anyone who's listening, the documentary about him. It is one of the most well done documentaries I've ever seen. And I don't say that lightly. It was so well done. And it gives you just a little bit of a glimpse into why he does things the way that he does and how. And he really is quite a prolific person and a really great person. And on a personal level, knowing him, I know that all of these stories that he tells are to bring light and champion people whose stories typically don't get told and to provide some type of inspiration of hope or look at this person's situation and see where she goes and see how she gets out of it. And it's speaking to the people that he believes have been forgotten. And that is his mission, is to always, always, always speak to his audience and to his fans, despite what people say, despite people saying, well, stop telling this type of story. He's like, I'm not going to. because these are my fans and I'm not going to leave them. And they show up tenfold. But I know that when it came to Beauty in Black, he was really inspired by, because he sent them to me. He was really inspired by these articles, and he was like, I cannot believe this is happening. I cannot believe people are going through this. And
Right.
I think, that coupled with his imagination and just the things, he created this fantastical, heightened, dramatic world that does deal with some very real things that happen, as far as the human trafficking aspect, as far as the women being, trafficked outside of a club. These things happen, and especially to young people. And again, as a court appointed advocate for youth in care by droves become victims of human trafficking, far more than youth that are not. And I know that was something to me where certain things resonated with me with Kimmie, because of the knowledge that I have about what can happen to youth in care. Um, so I think that's where it comes from. He tells these stories because he's heard them before.
Yeah. I wanted to talk to you about that. How did, I mean, the phrase "a court appointed special advocate for youth in foster care," um, tell me what that looks like in sort of civilian terms, like on a daily
Yeah.
basis. What does that mean? How does one get involved? If someone hears, you talk about this and they think, well, I would like to, maybe I can't adopt someone or foster a child. I'm too young to do that, or I don't have the means, or whatever. But how are ways that people can get involved in the way that you have?
Oh, I would love if anybody even thinks about it. Please, please, and I'll tell you how to do it. So, as an advocate, that is quite literally all that I do. I advocate. So, for youth in care who might have kind of specialized cases or might need a little bit more wraparound or more resources, they're assigned a CASA. That's what the acronym is, a CASA. They're assigned an advocate, and an advocate is a 100% volunteer position, appointed by the court. So after the training, you're sworn in the juvenile court system. And in the training, we learn about the child welfare system. We learn about what an advocate does, which is really just double checking that everyone is doing all that they can for this child. And on top of double checking that the social worker, the attorney, the foster parents are doing all that they can for this child's well-being. I also am talking to the child. What do you want? Do you like where you're at? How do you feel about this? And it's just kind of another person on their team who they know is there just for them. You weren't assigned to me. It's not my job. I'm not getting paid. I'm here for you. And so I stick with a kid until they have home permanence, whether that be being adopted, maybe be reunited with their family, whatever the case may be. But I stick with the kid until they have a permanent home. So that looks like day to day calling the young person, going to go visit them at home, seeing how they're liking things, seeing how they're feeling, talking to foster parents, talking to their biological parents, talking to doctors, talking to attorneys, seeing what the plan is to get forward progression on their case. Because the goal is we want all of the kids out of the system. We don't want kids in the child welfare system. We want them to be in loving homes where they can thrive and have regularity and, go to soccer practice and just be kids. So it is my job, because I love young people so much and I believe that they're the future, ensuring that these young people are getting what they deserve, which is 100% care and what they need, mostly what they want, as well. So it's beautiful seeing how much power I really do have. The judge really values the CASA report. So I write court reports and what my findings are and what I would like to bring to the court. For example, one time, one of the young people I was working with said that she wanted to see her biological brother more. She had a little brother. And so I put it in my report. I was like, she would like more visitation with her brother because she was separated from him. And an attorney was like, she has visitation. And the judge said, give her more because of the CASA report. And they did. So things like that, maybe some people aren't really looking at. They have 30 other kids on their roster. They're just making sure the kid is fed and, has a home. I'm like, no, she wants dance class. Let's get dance class. She needs tutoring. And I love being able to do it and to just amplify this young person's voice because I'm an adult and I can do it. So that is all an advocate does. And, I think if you have a heart for young people, it's a wonderful volunteer position where you can actually see your work yielding results in real time.
Okay, so just for somebody listening, what is the website? Does CASA, is it like CASA.org? Like, how does one find out more in order to do the training in the state that they live in?
Yes, so I'm a CASA in LA, and the website I believe is casala.org, but they have these advocate programs in most major cities. If you
Okay.
look up or Google child advocates, court support child advocates in your city, you'll be able to find it. I know they have it in Atlanta. They're called CASAs as well, but they're in Houston as well. That's where I'm from. They're called child advocates. So if you just Google it, you can find it, and I'm quite sure because Los Angeles County has I think the most children in the child welfare system in the United States. And let's say there's 45,000 kids in the system, there's like 1,200 CASAs. And in a perfect world, every child in the system would have a CASA. So I'm sure in any city, they need the help.
How has it been to watch the show? I mean, I know you've probably done looping and ADR, so you probably saw little bits along the way after you made it, but now it's out. And the first part dropped in October of 2024. Part, right? I think
Yeah,
that's part one dropped. And part two um is out.
drops today. It dropped at 3 a.m.
Wait, this is so I have you on the day it dropped?
Yeah.
Happy birthday,
Yeah. Happy
Beauty
birthday,
in
part
Black
two.
Part Two. Amazing. How lucky am I? How does it feel? What has it been like to watch it? Are you watching it as a cast? Are you watching it? Did you binge the whole thing? Like, how did you absorb this show?
So for part one, we had a screening event here in Atlanta. So we got to watch the first two episodes all as a cast, and that was my first time seeing them. So I was so nervous, but I was like, okay, okay, I feel good about it. And then all of my family came to town the next day, and we were because I had a big dinner planned for all of my family and friends just to celebrate, and we were watching them. And I look up and we're like, wait, we're on episode 7 already. I was like, how did it just kind of like pulls you into a vortex as you're watching. You're just like, next, next. And so yeah, I watched them super quickly with all of my family and just thoroughly entertained and wanting to see what was gonna happen next. And I have not watched part two yet since it just came out today. I'm watching it with friends tonight. But I'm excited. My mom already finished it. She started watching it at 4 a.m.
The idea that your mom, remembering her really shy, sort of hanging back daughter who is now doing a lot of not shy things,
Yes.
but they must be so proud of you.
They are. They're very proud because I think there was times like most parents do. They just want you to be okay. And in this business, it is not a very sure thing. And again, coming out of school, I had really good grades. School was never difficult for me. They were like, "You sure you don't want to go to law school? You sure you don't want to do this? You sure you don't-" And I'm like, no, I'm moving to LA. And my mom's like sending me LSAT study books just in case. And I'm like, no, I just put it on my bookshelf to remind me every day to keep going for my dreams. And they're very proud and they're proud that of course I'm on a show and I'm doing things, but they're also proud that I listen to myself because that's exactly how they raised me to be. And I think that makes them feel satisfied too. Like, even when we were like, I don't know, she was like, yes, I
Right.
will.
Know to have a child know who they are is like
Yeah.
that's an incredible feeling. As there's probably nothing more you hope for. Your child knows who they are and is loved, right? Like
Yeah.
what more could you possibly dream of? Except on top of that, it's really nice to have someone like Tyler Perry see you, like really see
Hmm.
you and trust that you can do something you haven't done before. And
Yeah.
and the sky's the limit really at this point. I'm gonna let you go. You have so much wonderful, wonderful stuff to look forward to, and congrats, you're still a newlywed. Um, Before I let you go, is there a little known fact that you can share about yourself?
Yes. So, okay, I thought of two. Is it just in general or something pertaining to the business?
No, 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 anything, anything, anything,
Okay.
whatever you find interesting to share.
Okay. I've never shared this anywhere. And I was like, oh, this is a good one. So in high school, I was a pole vaulter for a bit.
Which is why you're so good at pole dancing, it turns out. You never know. You had those Malcolm
You
Gladwell 10,000 hours long before.
never
That's
maybe. Yeah.
terrifying to me. I don't even know how you would like try it the first time, like to go from never pole vaulting to pole vaulting. Like, how
No,
did you?
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. So I was a cheerleader and I tumbled, and our coach made us do track in the off season. And they were looking for pole vaulters and they were like, we just need someone who can flip. And I was like, oh, I'll try it. And yeah, I did it. I did a couple meets. I wasn't like the greatest, but yeah, I definitely like trained pole vaulting. And that was a thing for a moment in time.
Wow. All right. Well, everybody listening, if you need a pole vaulter, I see like a film where you're like an Olympic star in your future. I mean, you have athletic
Yeah.
girl. Taylor, I cannot believe I got to talk to you today on the day the show dropped. You're so incredible. What fun. I love getting to do this. I never know who's going to pop up on my screen, who I'll just get to like be inspired by for an hour. And today it's you. And I am so lucky
Uh,
to have had this time with you. Truly, truly. I hope your car is charged now. Um,
it is.
Thank you for what you're doing for the environment, and thank you for what you're doing for our souls with your beautiful art. You're really an incredible, incredible artist. So thank you for being on the
Mm.
podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks again.